I'm a special one.
Decide I was right.
Hello and welcome back to OmniFoot TV. This is your host Omar speaking, and today's video is going to be about Chelsea. Now, I didn't expect to get back into doing this and talking about a topic of this nature. I am not going to go into the political implications of what has been happening, although all I can say is politics and football have intertwined for quite some time. And that's an understatement to say the very least. But I don't agree with what the UK government has done when it comes to sanctioning Abramovich in terms or in regards to the club itself. Now, what has happened is that basically they've all but shut down the club. I've been looking all over social media, and all I can say is things don't look good. Nike are apparently thinking of backing out on their shirt deal. I've heard that 3 are thinking of doing the same thing. Fans can't buy tickets. Only season ticket holders can go to games. We can't renew contracts. We can only pay people working at the club. I say it as though I'm there. Well, one day I will be. But anyways, the only thing I was mainly concerned with is how the community itself would function in regards to these sanctions. Now, clubs, football clubs, sports clubs in general are cultural assets. And the society at large depends on them in regards to their jobs, in regards to a lot of things, but mainly, people living in London who work at the club and expect to be paid because it's all they can do to make ends meet. You don't just put them in this kind of situation and expect them to be like, oh, okay, you're not going to get paid, but everything's going to be fine because we're dealing a good bit of justice. Politics. Wonderful, isn't it? Now, I think that what's happening is, given that there could be political evidence against Roman Abramovich, and I'm not going to confirm or deny that, because honestly, I'm trying to stay out of the political loop. Given that there could be that sort of evidence, then I would agree to place certain sanctions on the man and his belongings, properties, what have you. But when you do that to a club of this nature, a club that is just a centerpiece of the society at large, it impacts the society and the city in and of itself in such a huge way. When you do that, you also you put people who don't deserve to be in these situations right into them. I mean, I don't know if the people working at Stamford Bridge have anything to do with what's going on in between Russia and Ukraine. I mean, these are just people who wake up every morning, go to their jobs, do their thing, and leave. The players are stuck. The manager is stuck. The morale at the club is obviously extremely low. I expected a lot more attention in the game last night against Norwich, but it actually turned out okay. And I'm just looking at this and thinking, with the worst case scenario obviously being that the club could go into administration. And that sentence scares the hell out of me, and I'm trying to hold my tongue here. I can't imagine that happening. If you were to think in a manner that would at least suit the situation, taking into context the people who are going to struggle because of this, you could have allowed the guy to sell the club and be on his way. You want to sanction all of his properties, everything else, then do it. But at least give him the chance to sell the club, say his goodbyes, and leave. Because people's lives depend on this. It's that simple. I've rarely ever talked about the idea that there could possibly be an agenda against Chelsea by the FA or by the British government or what have you. But, I kind of buy into that, but I don't let it affect my mentality as a fan. And I don't think anyone affiliated with the club in any sense should also allow it to affect them. That's victim mentality, and I don't go for that. I don't buy that. It's not something I stand for. But when you see something like this, something as blatant as this, you can't help but feel that if this were any other club, and I'm going to go out and say this, I wouldn't wish this upon my worst rival. I wouldn't wish this on any football club. Imagine the amount of owners, be it in the Premier League or otherwise, who are running these clubs, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a political conflict arises between their home nation and a neighboring country, you'd obviously think that you'd have to roll out sanctions like this, but you'd also be affecting them in a negative way. And just to put it out there, I do not believe for a second that if this were the Saudi owners or those of the UAE, and I'm looking at Newcastle and Manchester City, I do not believe that if this were on them, if this had anything to do with their countries being in conflict with some other nation, that they'd be sanctioned in the same way. I just do not buy that. I think it's crap, and I want nothing to do with any argument that says otherwise. There is a bias here. I've always seen that there's a bias. There's been a bias against the club all season. Look at all the players who've suffered from COVID-19 and all the teams who've ended up getting their fixtures postponed. And then you have us. Like, I don't usually complain about this kind of thing, but seeing the sanctions that have been imposed and how the club is basically only allowed to eat and drink because the catering services are basically the only thing that are, functioning or are going to keep functioning at the club. I mean, that's the bare minimum. And if you trust the government, I don't know what to tell you. I would not wish this on any club. I genuinely wouldn't. As much as I may dislike Arsenal or Tottenham or even Barcelona to an extent, anything of this nature is bad for football. I mean, when we were kids and we would just support our clubs and watch them play against rivals and, throw around banter or what have you and just talk about how we'd want the club to get relegated. Whenever something that bad happens and you laugh about it, just wait a while. It'll kick you right in the ass. It'll kick you right in the ass if you let it. And it's bad for the sport itself. Anything that could happen, be it on a political basis or otherwise, to those you dislike in the footballing realm, could easily happen to you. And I think fans should look at it that way. I think every football fan should be just disgruntled and uncomfortable. Maybe a little angry with what's just happened to Chelsea. Because if you're not, then newsflash, buddy. It could have been your club. And to end this video, all I'm going to say is, I genuinely don't know where this is going to go. I don't know about the potential buyers. I don't know if we could possibly go into administration. I don't know if we could lose all of our sponsorship deals. If this is actually going to take up until May to get resolved. If it'll be within this week. As far as I know, UK officials and club officials were going to sit down together today. I haven't looked up what's happened, and part of me doesn't really want to at this point in time. I'm not being pessimistic here. This is depressing, man. This is genuinely depressing. I've never liked the idea of making other people pay for someone else's mistake. And this is what's happening. This is what the UK government is doing. They're making fans, they're making workers, they're making working class people, genuinely average individuals, people who live their lives day in and day out, people who support the club like me. They're making us pay for what we didn't do. And that's never been my forte. That's all I'm going to say for now. If you've tuned in, if you have any questions or you have any comments, if there's anything you agree with in regards to what I've said, anything you disagree with, please just let it be known in the comments section below. I genuinely like having discourse of any kind with those who follow the channel. The links to our social media accounts are in the description below. I'd look forward to seeing you guys following us. The Arabic YouTube channel is also there. The Facebook page for the Arabic content, and so on. And I'll see you next time the whistle blows. Thank you, everyone. Cheers for watching. Have a good day.